outline. Hello, Miss Frazier. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Miss Simplisori. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. So my first question is, today we're going to talk about psychology. My first question to you is, when it comes to mind when you hear psychology, what do you think it is?
To me, I think that psychology is dealing with your brain and then also your body functions.
Got it. Correct. So it's a scientific study of the mind and behavior, how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Psychology looks at emotions, not only emotions, it looks at learning, the decisions you make, and your brain effects. Psychology is research based. It's not guesses. You don't guess. It's actually on scientific facts. That's what psychology is. So today we're going to look at developmental psychology. Why do you think we study a child's development?
I feel that we study this because of as with their aging. Sometimes it starts at birth, from birth, adolescents, teenagers, young adults, also all the way up to adults.
Got it.
How well are they functioning?
Yes. So it's important to study how children grow, how they develop, how they change, how they grow and they change all across their life, how they think physically, their emotions, and how they get along socially.
Right.
There's a lot of studies out regarding how babies learn their language, kids thinking, how they think logically, how teens forming identity, and adults aging, right? But our focus today is the middle and late childhood. What age do you think middle and late childhood would fall under?
I think that you would start as 6 to 13.
Okay, close. So when we look at middle to late childhood, we look at the ages between 6 and 12, okay? So why do we study childhood development? We covered that. What changes happen between 6 and 12? So we have physical changes. So for a child between 6 and 12 years old, every year they grow 2 to 3 inches for most people.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, because some of them around here today looking like they older than me. So, hey.
I know you're short.
Yes, but I'm just, what are they putting in the food?
Yes. And basically, for how many pounds they gain every year, they gain between anywhere between 4 and 7 pounds per year. So we look at the motor skills first. We look at gross motor skills. So that would running would fall under gross motor skills, jumping, throwing, bike riding, and any type of sports. We look at the fine motor skills. Name me some fine motor skills that you feel would be.
Fine motor skills to me would be finger painting, a drawer, building Legos, being very active with another person, putting things together. If you're at school, you have art class. Also, if you're at home, you may have your mom and dad, may buy you certain things, like you can draw like colors, map colors, markers, finger paints, and everything. I think that also relaxes the mind as well.
Yes. And using a scissors to cut. And one of the first things
also, you got to be careful with the scissors because they can be dangerous.
Yes. Strength coordination, faster running, better balance, more endurance. With the brain, they look at their prefrontal cortex, would be the attention, the planning, the reasoning, the self-control. Because they look at some kids have more self-control than others.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something that you struggled with as a kid that later got easier for you.
I could say, really, to be honest, my height. My height, because
How tall are you now?
so technically I get a physical every year and I shrink as you get older in age. I am 4'7".
And how old are you?
I am 46.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think that technically me growing up as a child, I got picked on because I was little, I was short, and then also my friends were kind of tall, and everything. So I would ask questions, me in my mind, I was thinking like, why am I so short? I would ask my mom and dad, why am I short? Why I'm so little versus, other friends, they're tall. And then also mentioning, their parents may be tall, because of the height.
Exactly.
My parents had to, because of your height, your height plays a role. But as I got older, and everything, and my life changed and stuff like that, I wasn't being picked on anymore because of my height. Now I'm being admired because of my height, and stuff. And so that plays a different part in your mind because, you don't want to overwork your brain, asking all these questions and stuff. So I love that someone say, oh, you're so nice looking, you're so short, you're so cute, and everything. And then when they find out your age, and stuff like that, that really blows their mind. And then, it goes into another conversation, a very positive conversation.
Yes, true. So another thing we look at as a child between the ages of 6 and 12 is their health. Health is very important.
Right.
Do nutrition. So they need to have a balanced diet, fruits, vegetables, protein, grains, and limited sugar, of course.
Water.
If without those things, you have bad nutrition. Anywhere you tiredness, poor focus, obesity, these could lead to a lot of health issues in a child. Tooth decay, yes. That could lead to a lot of health issues. A child that age should have at least 60 minutes of exercise per day. That is very important, but a child, that's not hard for them to get 60 minutes a day. Usually a child would get way more than 60 minutes per day.
Because I remember growing up, we had recess. We had recess. We would go before we played kickball or before we just ran across the field, play softball and stuff like that. We would change into our gym clothes. Our gym teacher, PE teacher, they would have us on mats, doing stretches, doing jumping jacks. Depending on how you were, you would do push-ups, and everything. So that would take maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, or also maybe do a couple of laps around the gym, and stuff to just stay active and fit. Because if you get out there and trying to play softball or, playing kickball and stuff like that, you may pull a hamstring and stuff. So stretching is very good before you do any type of athletic sports with kids.
Got it. Good points. With the exercise, that leads to strong bones, healthy weight, better sleep, your anxiety. Some people have anxiety like me. I suffer from high anxiety, and you know this. It helps with your anxiety to go down, and then your attention. You're more sharp and focused with your attention.
A good night's sleep is great.
Yes.
I think, the way how things are set up now, I remember as a kid that our bedtime was 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30. We had that good night rest because the next morning when our parents woke us up, we may be getting up like about 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
6:45, getting up, eating breakfast, having a nutritious meal, maybe a sack lunch, going out the door with your sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, an apple, banana, some grapes, some cheese, some crackers, either some water or either like, depending on how you were, your mom may give you some milk for at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, because you got to have your calcium, you got to have your vitamin D, because a lot of African Americans, they have vitamin D and low efficiency, and stuff like that. So you have to take certain products and stuff like that to keep your vitamin D up, because also that does cause weakening your bones structure and everything
Yes,
as well.
yes. So for a child at age 8 should get at least 9 to 12 hours rest. Very important. It supports brain, mood, learning, growth, and immunity.
I also feel that sometimes it's good to read a book, something positive, before you go to sleep. Nothing action figure or anything like that before you go to sleep, because you might have a bad dream, or you might wake up, and then your anxiety is up here. So I think like reading a good bedtime story or watching a good movie before you go to sleep, you'll have a good night's rest as a child and as an adult.
Exactly. So with having these good nutrition, exercise, enough sleep, your risks of obesity, asthma, name me some risks that you could have technically if you don't get any of these. Or
you can have heart condition, you can have diabetes,
exactly.
You can have asthma, brain fog, just not taking care of yourself mentally. Also, you can have an aneurysm, because if you're stressing or if you're not treating your mind correctly, and everything like that, also you can lose your vision.
Exactly.
So you have to, as a parent, you have to make sure that your kids are being fed properly or eating properly, doing what they're supposed to do as a teenager, as a baby. I mean, to be honest, it starts from the womb, because what you're feeding your baby as you're pregnant, and stuff like that, that also develops what the child is going to be like when they're born. So you have to be careful as well, because I know as a parent, I read to my kids. I read to my kids. Important. I read to my kids. I ate. I was so, to be honest, it's like I was too healthy. The doctor's like, you were too healthy, and everything.
Oh, that's good.
And so it's just that I watched what I eat, because also as a mother, after you have the baby and stuff, you kind of get that little mother figure, and stuff like that you don't want to have.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But, as a child being brought into this world, you have to, as a parent, you have to watch what you eat as well.
Got it. So to recap, to do a summary of everything for adolescents, middle late childhood between 6 and 12. So let's start with psychology. What did you remember what psychology is from the beginning of this discussion?
The study of the brain.
Okay.
And the body.
Okay. How about developmental psychology?
Developmental psychology, sports, fine arts, sleeping, resting, eating properly.
Okay. That's the what keeps them healthy, what keeps it between the adolescents 6 to 12 healthy. So developmental psychology, to recap, is the study of growth, the change across the lifespan, between 6 and 12 years old. And what do we need for ages 6 to 12 as far as, you just named a few.
Eating.
Yes.
Eating, sleeping, reading, exercising, staying very active and not just flatlining.
Got it. Because we're trying to prevent
obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, vision loss, mental stress, depression,
Anxiety.
very high anxiety, and
Got
stuff
it.
like that. And then also it doesn't lead to drugs or alcohol.
Okay, good. So do you have any questions? Do you need me to repeat anything, or you're fine?
No, I just feel like
It's good.
as a parent, make sure that you're healthy. So if you're bringing a new life into this world, make sure you're healthy so the child can be healthy.
Got it. All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for doing this with me. Good.